Gonna build a mountain from a little hill. Gonna build a mountain, least I hope I will.
Welcome to Rise and Shine with Sue at the Hub Cafe. RISE stands for Resilient Individuals Supporting Each Other. And we want to create a safe space to shine a light on personal stories. It all starts now. Hi, and welcome to Rise and Shine at the Hub Cafe with Sue. We are so pleased to provide a safe space and a caring space for parents who want to share their story. And we know that there's a lot of parents out there with special needs children. And I just want to say, just enjoy the space. And we really want to know about you and about your story and about your little boy. Can you tell us?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I am a mother, usually part-time nurse, but I usually stay home with my kids. I have 3 children. My son is 15, my daughter is 11, and my youngest is 4. And the journey that I have been going on for the last 4 years with my son, Ezekiel. He is my special needs boy who has cerebral palsy, and so it's been quite the journey with him. Just because since I started the journey, it was kind of full of surprises, full of shock. Like I went to school as a nurse. I did the training and everything. I did the clinicals. I worked very hard in that course, but I can say that being a mother to my son has taught me things that nursing has never taught me before. So it's been quite the journey. So he's my last baby. They're like 7 years apart. So he was our little surprise. So of course we found out we were pregnant, and we were, me and my husband found we were pregnant. We were very excited, and everything was going well. I had a very thorough obstetrician that had done ultrasounds quite a few times in my pregnancy, and everything was fine. When I did the first ultrasound at about 5 months, everything was good. He was growing well. We found that he was a boy. We were so excited. And then I had another ultrasound done around about 7-8 months, and they had found at the time that he had one of the ventricles in his brain was enlarged. So the doctor told me that we have to refer you to a neurologist through Alex, and we're just going to monitor for now. She told me not to worry. Sometimes it's common. And she told me at the time that sometimes, the ventricles are enlarged, and then when the baby is born, they kind of level themselves out. So I was trying to stay calm, and I said, okay. I said, we'll just monitor for now. That's all we can do. And so when I went to see the specialist, he had 2 weeks that I had to go in weekly for an ultrasound. And it was, I think, the second ultrasound where they were finding out that the other ventricle in the brain was enlarged as well. And I was like, okay, so what's going on? And they said, well, we can't see really what's going on. But I kind of had a feeling with my son, because I don't know if it was the age or something, but I remember looking at him on the ultrasound, and I said, there's something not right with him. I remember going, looking back, I think about my other 2 ultrasounds with my other 2 kids, and I said they were moving, they were just very active, but there was something about Ezekiel. I remember looking, and I said, there's something wrong with him, something not right. And I don't know if it was a mother's instinct, but it just, when I was pregnant with him, I just felt exhausted. I felt something was just not right. And I voiced it to my mom. I voiced it to my best friend, and she was like, you're just worried because everything going on. And, she's like, just let it, we'll just wait and see. So, I kept having the ultrasounds, and things weren't looking good. His ventricles, and now I think it was all 4 ventricles are now enlarged. And so they were getting worried. They were telling me that maybe it might have to deliver him early. And the neurologist, I would say at the time when I was doing this, was not very supportive. He kind of gave me like still false hope. He wasn't really telling me what was going on. Even my mom, who is a registered nurse, was like, this neurologist is not we're not really, preparing us for what to expect. He was kind of saying, oh, maybe he has a little bit of Down syndrome. But I said, how does a child have a little bit of Down syndrome? Like, I just want to know what's going on, like, just kind of tell me what's going on. But we never got really any answers from him. And I don't know if it's just he didn't know, or he's just kind of putting it aside. We never got anything. So I remember at the time I was taking my finals, because I'm transitioning from LPN to the RN program. And I remember finished the paper. I was so excited. I said, okay, 2 more months of my, maternity leave. And then hopefully, everything will go well with the baby and I can focus on, Ezekiel at 100%. Ezekiel had different plans for me. I had it in my paper. It was my son's, that Friday, sorry. It was my son's birthday and he wanted to go bowling with his cousins. So I had arranged for a small bowling party. And I remember that day I had woken up and I had a little bit of like a wet spot on the side of my pants. And I said, what's going on? So I said, did I do something at night? So it was gone. It was whatever. So I kind of brushed it off. And so we had a good weekend. Everything was good. And then I had gone in for just a follow-up on that Wednesday at the Grey Nuns, because with everything going on, they're also still monitoring like the heartbeat and everything at the time. And I had, it was a good thing, but the nurse was saying, oh, is there any concern? I said to her, I said, I don't know. I just woke up on Friday, had a little bit of a wet spot on my pants, but that was it, nothing else. And so she's like, okay. She's like, it's probably nothing. So she checked, and actually my water had broke, and I didn't feel anything, no contractions, nothing. He was at 50% left of his amniotic fluid inside. And so I was like, it was just kind of like a whirlwind of like emotions. It was like basically she went to go tell the doctor, come check her. The doctor checked me. Within 30 minutes, I had everybody in my room. They're like, you need to go for emergency C-section. Like this baby out now, the water, has been broken for so long. And I said, I had no idea, no idea what was going on. And so Ezekiel came in with it was about, I think it happened at 3:00, and I had the C-section, at around 7:30 ish. And so he came and everything was okay. I was just waiting for that cry. He did cry, and then he stopped, and then he had stopped breathing. So they had to rush him up to NICU. As soon as he arrived at the NICU, the doctor there had done an MRI on him because of the last reports that all 4 ventricles were now enlarged. And so from then, it was that he found that he had quite significant brain damage, mostly to the frontal lobe, from a cyst that had formed, and I didn't know really what, I didn't process it at the time. Like I said, okay, so what does this mean, and where does he get that from? I didn't really get, because the doctor there at the time didn't really give me enough answers, like, well, where we got it from. He was telling me it could have been from the cord. Is this something genetic? He said, he reassured me it wasn't my fault. It's just these things happen. But I said, it just wasn't enough for me. But I kind of like everything that was, coming my way when Ezekiel was born. I just couldn't have, I couldn't process anything at the time. So got a referral to see Dr. Chater to do follow-up after the NICU. Ezekiel actually ended up staying in the NICU for 2 months, and he progressed. He progressed okay. There was no seizures at the time. He was just very sleepy baby. He was very slow on movement. That was the first. I looked into like a newborn to me, but maybe I was trying to, I was like, no, it looks normal to me. But he was moving quite slow, like his movements and everything. He was still feeding by mouth, which we were really excited about. We said, okay, that's really hopeful. And so by the end of almost when he was being discharged, I had another talk with the doctor, and I said, you have to be honest with me. I said, what do I expect with, a child like this? Like, what do I do? But most importantly, how am I going to cope? my life is, different now. Like, after, finding, brain damage, I said, oh my God, significant brain damage. Like, what do I expect? He's just like, we just have to wait and see because we don't know. And you just have to take it day by day and follow up with your doctor and everything. And I said, okay, like, and I went to, I went to Dr. Shator, and I will tell you, and Dr. Shator will tell you, every appointment I had with Dr. Shator, I must have cried. I don't think thankful for my mom, grandparents. My mother is so supportive. She was there, and she was talking for me. I just could not get anything out, so she was talking for me, and I just could not, I just was not coping well. And so it was just kind of like, I don't even remember, to tell you the truth, the first year of Ezekiel's life. I can't even remember. It was just like everything was just coming at me. Like, for the first 3 months, like, he was just your typical newborn, like, infant kind of thing. And then it was just going into his 4th month is when his seizures started to develop, And so from then I had to see a neurologist, and the neurologist I actually went to go see, I did not like him. He kind of was just like, his way of treating my son was kind of like, quality of life is basically, it was done kind of thing. Like, don't expect anything, and, I was already like, I'm already down on myself, that it did, for Ezekiel, he for a baby, he was eating, by mouth. It kind of started to go downhill from there. I noticed a little bit, because, by the 4th, 5th month, you start to feed them food, like pablum by mouth. I noticed that he was starting to cough when he would try to swallow. So he went in for a swallowing assessment, and it went there that he needed, that he was actually a silent aspirator, and he needed a G tube. So he was on, we were waiting for the surgery, so he was on an NG tube for a while. But then it was, we were also noticing by like the 4th, 5th month that he wasn't doing anything. Like, he wasn't interacting like a baby. He wasn't sitting up. He wasn't holding his head up. He was sleeping quite a bit. He wasn't reaching for things. There was no reaction, no stimulation, nothing. He was almost like a newborn for the longest time. And so I went through this like deep depression. I was in denial for the longest time. There was days it's hard for me to like even get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
For her, my best friend used to like call me, and she used to call me, and she knows I don't pick up the phone if I'm, if I have a lot, but she would call me, and she's like, you need to get help, and I'm always tell her, I'm like, I'm so grateful, that you pushed me. I had, my other few friends that I had, they're like, you have to get up, that baby was meant for you. You need to take care of him. You need to get up. And they said, no one can take care of the baby like you. You need to get up. So it was hard. Like, I am a big social media, user at the time, and people would notice that you don't post anything about your son. You don't say anything about your son. Like what they were running, what was going on. I actually hid him. Like, I quotations hid him for a while. Like, I hid him for the first year of his life. I didn't post anything, no pictures, nothing. People would ask me, like, oh yeah, he's fine. I didn't say anything. I kind of, when I look back at it, I feel so ashamed that I did that. But I just, for me, I wasn't coping with myself with, I couldn't process anything. Me being a nurse, you see it all the time, right? But then when it's your own child, it's just
totally different. It's totally different.
It's totally different. I asked so many questions, and I knew the answers, but it's like, I need reassurance all the time from, doctors and everything. Like, nothing made sense. All that training was out the door.
When it's personalized, when it's something that's happened to you, it's there's no comparison. You can't put your professionalism in front. Like, it's like you're looking through different eyes now. And in one sense, it's really good because you have more empathy for people who
Yeah.
have gone through this, which is really a huge benefit, where you
Yes.
would have that over anybody else. If somebody else has a baby or has issues with their baby when they're first born, they're in NICU. I mean, you can understand more than anybody, that
Yes.
hasn't had that experience. So, I mean,
Yes.
that's really good. But again, you can't expect yourself to be looking at it objectively like you would a stranger and their baby. You
Yes.
can't. I mean, I think that's impossible, right? Like it's so different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So different. And so, um, yeah, like my nursing career is actually like I love it now. Like before, I loved it before, but now I kind of have like it's
It's a
like I kind of
passion.
yeah, like it's a awakening of my my career, because like I have so much empathy for a lot of my patients and stuff, and for the family as well, because I understand what they're going through and what it's like to have to care special care for your loved ones. So I so finally my son, for the first like maybe 2.5 years, he was hospitalized quite a bit. He was in the ICU for a lot of things, seizures. He had pneumonia at the time. Like there was a lot of things that he would get sick so easily. A common cold would put my son in the ICU. Like it was hard. I remember I used to be there like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, but it was strange because it was kind of becoming my norm, so I just couldn't. It's like I couldn't. I knew, like, people were like, oh, come up to me, like, hey, you're so strong. But then I'm kind of thinking, like, this is like, I've done this for a year now. This is kind of my norm. It's kind of hard to explain, you know, but, so I was still kind of like numb at the time for everything that was going on. Like things were still coming at me. And I think it was the time when Ezekiel was on, I think it was valproic acid, and he was responding a little bit with the seizures, and he kind of was, kind of responding a little bit. And I remember, like, it was in the ICU, and it was probably like another awakening moment that I had with him. And I looked at him and I said, and it's kind of like he was looking at me, like, mom, I'm still here, and he
Aw.
kind of like, I have to pick myself up. This, I kind of, I know it's kind of vulgar, but I said, okay, F it. Okay, this is my life now. I know it's kind of vulgar, but that was the only thing that motivated me. I'm like, I have to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it. Get going. Okay, come on. Like, let's do this, Ezekiel. What can we do, right? So then I started, focusing more, and like I said, my friends were so supportive and everything, and I started focusing more on like getting him like all the help that I could find him. I I was also really vigilant. I'm vigilant on his medications and monitoring his medications and everything. So I was always the doctors for everything. I said, oh, this is happening, right? But I had everything organized, and I was finally like when I started like the medication, everything was, coming together, and the seizures were getting under control, and I could start to see like he's waking up a little bit more. My medications, I actually to switch neurologists from that one that told me that he actually switched me to somebody else, that he said, oh, this one is more, more experienced and more better for you. And I said, good.
Good.
And she's been amazing. She's been such a good doctor. She's actually the one that really like introduced all this medications for him. She's actually the one also put him on a keto diet that has also like my son has improved significantly
Oh,
from
that's good. That's a huge
yes.
step forward, right? Good.
And so my son, so he started to progress a little bit more. And so it finally gave me the courage to now share him a little bit, like his pictures and everything, his story a little bit, like on social media. I started to tell people more. I actually have another lady at work, actually, she kind of was an aha moment when she told me, she's like, how come this is before like I was sharing my story. She's like, how come you don't mention anything about your son? And I knew already that she had a special needs daughter. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to tell her, because she could kind of relate to me. And she said, never be ashamed of your children. Never hide your children. She's like, they're here for a reason. She's like, you say something and you'll be surprised how many people will come reach out and come and, and be supportive. And she was so right. I had so many people
That's
supporting.
great advice. Isn't that great advice? Yes.
it was amazing. Like, that I was like, yeah, that's true, and then she's like, the people that don't support you, like, your son is basically weeding them out for you. You just get rid of, and it was
Oh.
true, so true. I have just, amazing people around me right now. Like, they're just so very supportive people. And so, things like, I just feel like also like my son started to like kind of feed off like my change, my how I was different now. I was more like, okay, Ezekiel, we have to do this, like the motivation from me. That's what I feel. But he came from a child that was sleeping, didn't do much, to now he's like rolling. He's now, sort of like using hand movements. He's kind of like, a little bit like not reaching for things, but if you put something there, he'll kind of feel it, kind of thing. He will actually, like, he's a very big Disney fan, and I used to joke about this because when he was he's in the walker now, and he's learning, like he's trying to get, like, he's in a gate trainer, so he's trying to kind of get the feeling of walking. And not when he was at the OT at the Glen, he will not move until he hears the introduction song of the Lion King. So I always laugh because he will just stand there. He'll have his
His
like
hearing is good. His hearing is great, right?
yeah, his hearing is good. His hearing is so good. He will not, yeah, he will just stand there kind of and just be like, okay, I'm not moving until I hear my song, mom. So I have to make sure I have it, but it's so funny. He just lights up and he'll go for an hour up and down the OT, just kind of doing his own kind of walking. So um it's been like quite a journey, like for me, like my thing too, and my husband too. Like he has accepted this journey as special needs father. He's been so amazing. He's so good with it. His big thing always with my son is that inclusion. He always finds ways to make sure that my son is not sitting, somewhere, or grandma is, babysitting him because we're doing something. He's like, no, if we do something, it's all of us.
Most parents are like you, as they want to include their children and they want them to experience everything that they can experience, and they want to teach them. Like, I know with Candace, she teaches Kalea everything that she can teach her. I mean, and Kalea eats it, she eats it up, and she's learning. And then
Yeah.
3 weeks later, she'll say something that you said like 3 weeks ago, and you go, whoa, like she remembers things, and she's learning, and just being included with your beautiful family. I mean, it's huge.
Yes, it's like I also too, like I'm kind of obsessed with, like, I have a lot of special needs like sites, or like groups that I join on Facebook. If you actually open my Facebook, that's all you see. It's like groups, everything. Like I just feed off other people's like motivation, like their ideas and stuff, and we share, because you need that. Like I have, at the time that Ezekiel was born, I had maybe 3 other friends that had babies at the same time, and it still hurts because they're all the same age, and they're kind of progressing normal, and my son is still still in diapers. We still carry him. He's in the stroller. It hurts, like, still to this day, it still does hurt. But I just, those special needs groups, and just to find someone else to relate to, it was such a big help. Like, just to be like, okay, and I could ask any question, like you said with before, I could ask any question, and then they will get it. They're like, yeah, my son does that too, or something, or, oh, try this, or you know what I mean. Even simple things like venting my son, like I said, I have nurse training. I didn't know all these special moms would teach me like the better way to vent your son than than what I was taught in school. Like, I never knew you can do that, just so many things, right? So yeah, it's still, it's a journey. Like right now, like I said, he's in elves school. They've been fantastic. He actually, he's grown a little bit more stronger actually since joining that school, because of the OT there, and more aware, I find, of his surroundings. And so he actually knows, because he takes the bus every morning, so he actually knows when his bus driver comes and picks him up. So he'll start to, like, sometimes he'll have a bad morning, he's crying, no one wants to get up. And then he'll have the bus and he's like, oh, it's school time. I think now about the past 4 years of my life, like with him, what this child has taught me, and also the strength that I didn't know that I had, like even like the way that I perceive the world, perceive life, everything. It's so like, what this little thing, I'm 36, And I've learned nothing compared to the last 4 years, about like even relationships, just, everything. This little thing, like, has taught me, like, I'm Catholic, and I kind of believe, yes, things happen for a reason. Maybe not everyone agrees on that, but for me, like them choosing us, I feel like that, he chose me. So I have to kind of, fulfill my duty, and do the best I can with him. Like but he's just amazing kid. Like for someone who doesn't talk, someone who doesn't talk and do
He
much.
communicates well, I'm
Yes,
sure.
he things that no one else can teach you, like just even how to love, and like his brother and sister have been like amazing. They just love him. Like they love him. They explain his story all the time to their friends. Like they show him off. Oh, they give him kisses. He feels them. He knows when they're around. So it may not be the child that you always dreamed of, but it's just something that was more that came out of it.
Yeah.
It's been you know
Oh,
there's
yes.
nothing to explain, like the love I have for this child. It's just or I didn't things that I didn't know I can do. I'm doing.
Mm.
So motivation in life is everything is different. Since he's been here. So so it's
That's why we like to call them your exceptional children, because they
yes,
teach us so much. And
yes,
I think, and having siblings around just to get them exposed to, because again,
yeah,
if you grow up and you aren't exposed to special needs children, like I was a special ed teacher for 6 years, and whenever there was a sibling for when my kiddos in my classroom, they were just so supportive and just so helpful and so knowing and so mature about everything. Like they just knew stuff that other kids didn't have a clue, what they were
yes,
doing or why they were doing it. So I think that it helps our other children grow too, and to be
yes.
more compassionate and
Completely. Like I find like my kids are very, like I hope it helps them to be compassionate, but I do find they are like, very open to things, and like they understand things a little bit more better, like, oh, like this child maybe, they're not very how to say judgmental. I don't know how to say it, but like they are just very, very loving, compassionate kids. And especially towards their brother, they showed me just how amazing, like, they stepped up for that older sibling, they've just
Mhm.
been amazing, they love him. That's
That's
all
a
I can
kid.
ask.
That's a blessing, right? That's
Yeah,
so important. So, and that's what we want our children to be,
yeah.
non-judgmental and compassionate. Well, Natalie, I mean, I love your story, and I want to thank you so much for being vulnerable and for sharing it with the other parents out there. And because we all feel we're all in each other's heart, and we really appreciate you for doing this. And I just before we go, is there any other last thing that you might want to share with the parents and other moms out there, or the parents and the grandparents and the dads too?
Yes. The thing, like, really what I can share with you, like from my experience, is that, just love your child. Um, the child will show you exactly what he or she can do. Like I said, I had the neurologist tell me not to expect anything. And now I have my son, rolling. He's willing to walk, he's more aware. It's just, you know they can show you what they can do, and they're just they're just angels. They just need they just need lots of love and support. That's all. That's just give them the best. Give them all of that, and you'll see how much they can flourish.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Natalie. It's been a pleasure
Mhm.
speaking with you
Yes.
tonight. A pleasure having you on as our guest, and to thank all the parents out there for listening. And this has been a
Okay.
very special time. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us. We
Thank you.
appreciate you very much, and we appreciate all that you carry, and we carry it with you. So we love
Thank
you.
you so much.
Okay.
We love you
Thank
too.
you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Gonna build a mountain, gonna build it high. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, only know I'm gonna try.
Well, that's all for today, friends. Thank you for joining us. We are so pleased that you are here, and we hope that we've given you some great information and that we have inspired you. So feel free, reach out if you have any suggestions for future topics or guests on our podcast, or if you would like to be a guest on Rise and Shine with Sue at the Hub Cafe. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, subscribe, like, and share. And remember, it takes a village, so let's do this together. You are not alone. Bye for now.